good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of Chewing the Crust. I may look like I'm calm and cool, but I am a swan or a duck with my legs going beneath me like this. It's the first ever live podcast that I've done, and we're recording in front of a live audience at Bridlington North Library. Before we begin, I just want to say something about libraries, particularly here in the East Riding, but also across the country. They're no longer quiet and dusty places. They're now bright and positive community spaces that I think we're all encouraged to use more for all sorts of activities. So if you do have an idea of how you want to use them, or perhaps something you want to do, ask your local librarian, ask at the counter, and I'm sure they'll accommodate it if they can. So, but today they're doing podcasts. So today it belongs to us. So just so that you know, after we've finished recording as well, there will be an opportunity to have a look at some of the books and speak to the authors and things like that here as well. So that should be there for you. On this week's episode, I am joined by Claire Jennison. Claire grew up in a small village near Grimsby and describes herself as a quiet, bookish child who loved stories from an early age, whether that was the library van arriving at the village or devouring books well beyond her age. Her love of language ran so deep that her father once bought her a dictionary simply because she wanted to know what all the words meant. So she studied English and creative writing and later became a teacher before stepping away and building her own editorial business, helping other writers shape their books. While working with authors, she began writing her own novels, self-publishing her early work, before later securing a publishing deal with Bloodhound Books through their Pitch Hound competition. Her latest psychological thriller, No Good Deed, continues her fascination with people and their choices and the complex moral spaces that we all inhabit. Claire, thank you very much for coming on this first live podcast.
Great to be here, thank you.
And you may not know this, but all of my guests on the podcast get a poem written about them. So I've written a little poem about you. I'm not very good, so warning.
Love to read.
But I do like it when people cry afterwards.
Okay.
Also, I should say that I normally do a 2-hour podcast. This is a 1-hour podcast, so we'll make it work. Okay. So this is your poem. A quiet child with borrowed books and questions without end. A dictionary from her father's hand, a reader first, then pen. Through turning roads and changing paths, when plans were set aside, she found the stories waiting there, had always walked beside.
Oh my God, that's gorgeous.
So my first question for you, Claire, is that you described yourself, and I've repeated it there, about you being a quiet, bookish child growing up near Grimsby. Do you remember when stories or a particular book first grabbed hold of you?
Yes, it was maybe a little bit controversially. Flowers in the Attic by Virginia Andrews. I don't know why that's maybe a bit controversial. She's the child. Maybe that's where my themes of morality like go into my own books, because that's kind of what influenced me. So it was like Virginia Andrews, Catherine Cookson, Stephen King. I remember reading Pet Sematary when I was really young as well and got quite obsessed with that. So it's very much like the darker themes, the darker stories that always fascinated me, intrigued and then fascinated me. So my mum and dad never seemed to mind what I was reading either. It was just like, oh, she's okay. She's in the book again. So it just kind of left me to it. But yeah, I used to go to the library van, like week in, week out, and just get my stack of books like Little Matilda and go home and read them all. So it was definitely older stories that always got me from the beginning.
It's that wonderful, inquisitive mind from a young age, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was like the thicker the better. It was like the Catherine Cookson omnibus. I remember being like this, and just it had like a heavy weight, but it was just like, oh, this is going to entertain me for like ages. It was just like the whole, you know, when you get like a child film, be like, oh, I've got a good couple of hours of entertainment here, but with a book, it's just like better because it's like your imagination. So yeah, that's where it comes from.
Just your body language and the way you speak about books really shows how much because I'm not a massive reader. Despite having written a book, I'm not a huge reader. And I wish I could bottle some of what you're showing me to be able to read, because you clearly you found a place to go.
Yeah, definitely. It is a form of escapism. And like you touched on that, I became a teacher, and although I was like teaching books and teaching language, but one frustrating thing about being a teacher is not having enough time to read for pleasure, because you're preparing lessons and you obviously have a set work that you've got to teach and a curriculum to follow. But it really ate some reading time being a teacher. So now I've got lots of time to read.
In jobs.
No, I'm money, yeah.
So, did you have a place to read your books? Did you have a look at? Because in my head, I love the idea, like in these adventure movies where they go up in the loft and they open the books and all the dust comes out. Did you have a
As a child, it was anywhere and everywhere. Like we used to go to my nana's like every Saturday, and I'd be having my book in the back of the car, eking every minute. Or even now, like I went to the hairdresser a couple of weeks ago, and I took my book to read on the bus to go into town, and then like had left enough time to go to a coffee shop beforehand to read my book. It's like I just build in time constantly to read. Yeah.
And do you think that as a writer now, that is an important part of you continuing to be an author?
I think definitely, particularly in my genre, because I write psychological thrillers, and because my readers expect like the unexpected, and they expect twists, and they expect to be surprised. I think if you're not sort of reading and understanding the market, then it can be an idea you have might have already been done 100 times. So you've kind of got to keep your brain sharp, and I think reading helps do that as well.
You also mentioned the excitement, and I can picture this. Mine might have been the ice cream van law, but you mentioned the excitement of the library events showed up.
Yeah.
And even writing to Christopher Pike.
Oh God, I loved Christopher. Yeah, Christopher Pike books. They were novellas, but they were again they were like murder mysteries. And you saying about poetry, I remember reading one called "Remember Me" about a girl who had died, and the story was told from the point of view of her ghost. And then the detective comes in to figure out how she died, and she sort of follows the investigation. And off the back of that, I wrote like a massive poem. So that really just got me. I loved it. But then he can stray from that a little bit. I went into like supernatural territory, and I did not like that. So I wrote to him. I was like, please, can you rein in the supernatural and go back to writing the detective? I want to read more the detective novels. But he never wrote back.
How old were you?
Oh God, 11 maybe.
Please sort this out.
I don't want to read about dragons. I want to read about detectives. Yeah.
It's mega. But that's again another driver. The reason I wrote my book was because I felt that there wasn't a book out there that would help me.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, to some extent, that's what you've done there. You filled a gap that wasn't being presented to you. Yeah,
well, absolutely. It's like you become addicted. Like you just want more of it. And I was like, I love this author. I've got all of his books. I've read all of his books. Like I want more. Like I wanted him to write more of what I wanted. But that's you find your readers and give them what they want. So that's kind of what I've learned from that as well.
I also think that when you run out of a series that you adore, it's like losing a friend.
Oh, God, you're bereft afterwards. I know, yeah. I do feel really sad when I'm finished. I was to my husband last week. I've finished the latest in a series, and it was getting a big doorstop novel. And I was like, I feel really sad that it's ended. This is like the tape in the series, but every time it's the same. So, yeah, you do become... I would like to write a series one day, because you do become invested in the characters. And you sort of follow them through like different life stages, I think. So there's endless opportunities.
You do have a theme that almost whole plays a part as a character in your books, right?
Yeah, in a few of them it does. Out of 4 out of the 6, whole is like a bit, and I do describe it, so the characters do walk down familiar streets and visit familiar parks in Hull. We've moved around a lot in Hull. We were trying to the general actually, but we've lived in quite a few different areas of Hull, so it's sort of given me an opportunity for my characters to live in different areas of Hull as well. And I've like worked in East Hull and we live in West Hull, so I kind of know like the geography of Hull really, really well. So I've kind of used that to my advantage, the sort of darker streets of Hull.
My podcast, the Chewing the Crust, is very much based on life pivots and how changes in your life can occur. They might be good, they might be bad. How you manage them and how you've gone to sort of inspire. And I think you're a good example of this. Can you think back to times, particularly relating to your authoring or life that has influenced your authoring, where that is the case? You know, what are the sort of specific life pivots in your time as a person becoming an author?
I think, even though I was always a reader and always I had a typewriter as a child as well, so I used to like write short stories. I know, and it just the whole spreading it and the Tipex and if you got it wrong and things like that. So always been a reader, but I never actually thought, weirdly, I'll become an author. It was always, I just loved words and language. So maybe my first ever job was at the Grimsby Evening Telegraph. So I worked in like the classified sales and then went on to like do the newspaper planning. So again, working with words, working with publications, and then I became a teacher. So I kind of knew that I wanted to work with words, but I don't know why I think, I want to be an author. Until I've been a teacher for a long, long time, analysed books to death, got to try and explain the plot of Lord of the Flies to, 11-year-olds. It's challenging. So I learned how to sort of like dissect books. And that was like, became a fascination then. And then when I left teaching, and I left teaching because having no time to read, that was like a bit of a like daft flippant comment, but really it does have a quite negative effect on me. Teaching for a number of years, it was hard, and being in the system, I don't think my personality, a bookish introvert, is suited to lessons day in, day out.
I think mass education is very difficult because I would imagine that you are a perfect influence for somebody, perhaps on a smaller scale, but mass education is very difficult to cater for everybody in that goes.
Yeah, and the system and the expectations, etc. It was tough. It affected me quite negatively. So when I left teaching, by then I'd been a GCSE examiner. I'd taught for many years, and dissected a lot of books. I thought, I wonder if this is something I could do now. And it wasn't out of panic it just seemed like that was the natural next step to like work with books. And being quite sort of a timid and maybe risk-averse person, you don't just give up your job as, I'll be a writer. It's just not like feasible for like normal people, I say. So I thought, well, I'll help other people with their books first. So I began an editorial business, I've worked on over 100 other authors' books now. And again, just gain more insight. At the time, alongside doing all that retraining, doing as many training courses as I could, networking. I might be like introverted, but I still kind of enjoyed meeting other like-minded people. And then thought start writing my own of 2019. So it took a while in amongst everything else.
You had a bit of time in your hands 2020, right?
Bit of time, yeah. Do you know, that was bliss to me. Like, being in the house, like condemned to the house all day. Just nothing else to do, but like read and write was amazing. So I was there with like my animals, and I just had a lovely time. And Yeah, so I wrote my first book. It was rubbish, as often our first books are. Like the first draft of the first book. I mean, Catherine said about like the first draft, I call it the vomit draft. Just purge it, just get it out.
That's exactly how I describe it, vomiting words out. That's exactly how
I just used to put on my like rainstorm background noises and just like tap away at the keys and just like kind of go into this weird like zone and then just typetize it. So finished that. Again, working on other people's books. By then, I've progressed to like formatting, so I was formatting people's books as well. So often I wouldn't have worked on the book, I'd be formatting it, so I'd kind of got to read more people's books. So I was in such a privileged position of just, I was just immersed in books. Just it was brilliant.
And that's a good test as well, because I think it's dangerous, and I've done it myself. It's dangerous to change your hobby into a job, because if it's that depth that you were into it, you could have ended up hating it. And the fact that you didn't showed that you were in the right place.
No, it was like how I felt with the Crystal Pie books. I just wanted more. It was just like, I used to walk a dog every day. I listened to all the podcasts, like every day. I'd be getting ready for the day. I listen to a podcast. I'd go in the bath. I'd listen to a podcast. I'd be always listening to a podcast from people that become authors or people interviewing authors, and then how to be an author, just immerse myself. So I got my book to the point where I thought it was good enough, good to ship, as one of my author friends says, and because it doesn't have to be perfect, no book is perfect. And then I thought, well, because I'd listened to so many like self-publish it podcasts, I thought I'll self-publish it, because I like control, and I thought I want to be charged for all this, and I didn't even consider sending it to publishers. I just thought I'd just do it myself, because I knew the process so well from working on other people's books and from having learned so much. I just thought I'd just do it myself.
Oh, so you didn't waste the 6 months that I wasted?
Well, depends what you could class as waste. Is like, it's still, every step is still a learning step, isn't it? So I've always been very like insular, and I thought, well, if I can do it myself, I'll do it myself. So I just did it myself, just learned how to do it myself. I did it. I had like a terrible cover. I didn't know anything about like margin sizing, the font sizing, I knew about them, but maybe not from like a marketing point of view. I knew like fundamentally, but not like how to get the best like visibility from them. So like, the authors all know about this, don't we? So, but then it did put me off. I thought I'd do another one, so I wrote another one. Did that again? I changed the cover a couple of times, and then just one random day, I saw a TikTok for Bloodhound doing a pitch hand contest. I just thought, well, I'll send my next book in. By then I'd sort of written the third book, and that was what became my first. That became my debut as a traditionally published author, and they did a much better job on the cover. This time.
It's really interesting though, isn't it? And I think there's actually two podcasts in this. I think there's the podcast about you as a writer, and then there's the podcast about the obstacles and there's the difficulties in getting something published, because it's not fun.
Oh no,
it's not fun writing off to those people. And like I wrote to, I think, about 40 different agents, and they generally say, right, we'll review it and we'll come back to you in 8 to 12 weeks.
Yeah.
If we don't come back to you, you're not paid.
Yeah. That
means you're waiting for 12 weeks to hear nothing. It's really quite, certainly for someone like me who, like to create shirts and it starts with the marketing before I write the book, because I want to look right. It's all about how loud my voice is, right? And then how good the book is. And so I tried to think practically. I thought when I got to the end of it, I didn't want to think, well, then now I've written a book, because I've got ADHD, I've got no patience.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to wait for editing. I didn't want to wait for marketing. I didn't want to wait for an agent. So I started doing it as I was doing it, because I realized I didn't have a clue how to do it. And I thought the more I messed about with it, the more chance I had of getting it under some noses. But that didn't work. The marketing was good, but apart from that,
I think one of the issues is the time it takes. So it's bizarre that as an author you can learn how to write your book, edit your book, format your book, upload it onto Amazon and what other online stores you want it on quicker than you can get a reply from an agent or a publishing house. So it is that's often seen as both are hard, both ways are hard, but it's just what you want. And sometimes I'm like, you're a bit impatient. Like, I'll just do it myself. I don't want to have to rely on somebody else's like permission, validation, time frame. I just thought I'll just do it myself. And it turns out I didn't do a great job of it. But like, if I was to do it again now, I probably would, because I've learned more since then. So I was just in a rush, I'll just do it myself, get it out. And even I don't have any followers on social media. I don't like to put myself out there on social media either. So I was like, crazy, but I wanted to be an author at that point. So, and I thought, if all these other people can do it, why can't I? I am proud of it, but I don't, like, things like this I find really difficult, because I'm not a very look at me kind of person. I want the book, I want people to, it's the weird, dichotomy of, I want to be seen, my book size, but I don't want anyone to notice me. It's a weird feeling. I want my books to be successful, but I don't want it to be the thing that makes it. I want them to be successful by themselves, but then I can't do that without being.
And ironically, though, from what you've said, all of the things you've done I could do apart from leaving the job to be an author. That fills me with more dread. And I've interviewed a lot of people doing this podcast, a lot of people who've been through horrific scenarios. And the one guy I've interviewed that I thought, oh my God, I couldn't do that. He changed career 5 times. And that's the thing of nightmares for me. I just like Captain Sensible, salary, pay the mortgage.
Yeah, what does as well is you're responsible for them. We don't have independence apart from our animals. So we were very much, from having like deaths in the family and things, it very much sort of like kick-started a, like, oh, what's the worst that can happen attitude. And it was just like, well, I'll just manage. Whatever happens, we'll just manage. And that, not to sound blasé, because I'm serious, we've got mortgage to pay, bills to pay, but I just think, well,
if it means you have to work in 5 pubs, you'll work in 5
Yeah,
pubs.
and I did when I was younger. I used to have different jobs when I was younger, before I started at the Telegraph. So I worked at Tesco on the deli counter, and I'll do any job if I have to. But it's nice not to have to at the moment. But that could change in the future. But for now, while I can have this, lovely creative existence, like, I'm relishing every minute of it.
I think doing that in Hull at the moment as well is exciting, because I'm a very proud son of Hull. I love Hull. And since 2017, the City of Culture, so much has happened there. And there's such a sea change of behaviour and thought towards art and towards being open and safe. And that's spilled into the East Riding where we are now. And that collaboration, I think it's an exciting place to be creative.
Yes, yeah. Well, I've lived in Hull, nearly 20 years now. And I remember visiting quite a lot with my aunt. And we used to come to Princess Quay Shopping Centre when my cousins as well. And it was like grim. Even when I was younger, I was thinking, I never want to live in Hull. This is coming from Grimsby last as well, so it's like... Well, when I met my husband, today...
Good-looking guy.
He's a good-looking guy, and we settled in Hull. I really love it. I do find there's a lot. We've got a lot of theatre venues, and there's gigs, quite a lot of gigs, and of course we've got the nice libraries. And I just, as a creative, I find it really. I find it an inspiring place to live,
Yeah, I think Hull and Bentley, that cafe culture is really coming. And I think that's the archetypal place you think of an author sitting right and drinking coffee in the cafe.
Yeah.
With regard to your books, what do you think, what are you proud of?
Maybe how they've evolved. I can definitely see improvements from like those back in the day. The first two that I self-published became like books 2 and 4 of my books with Bloodhound. So they took them on, but I had to rewrite them quite heavily.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting to sort of like, and I understood what was wrong with them as well. So, but when you're a sort of fledgling, you don't always understand, like, so they've helped me a lot with like what the readers want from like my genre.
Because you do have to start there.
If you're signed to a publishing house, you are responsible for creating like a product. So it's something it's to sell. This is like to make money. I like earth royalties. I like them pay me money. It's nice. So what they're in it's a business.
Yeah.
So it's not just all what you get is a vanity project.
And it's a gamble.
It is a gamble. Yeah. So I'm proud that I've had my first book deal with them was for the first book, and then I got a 2-book deal with them, and I got a 3-book deal with them. So I'm proud that kind of like my career has progressed to sort of justify their faith in me, so that the longevity, I suppose, because a lot of people say is, I think, Chris Moyles back in the day, like he actually called it a difficult second book. I already had a few lined up because of the ones I self-published, so it's kind of like if you had some in your sort of portfolio already. But it is hard writing a book. So to like write multiple, I think is quite, and they're reviewed well, and I get to do things like this podcast. It's nice. But I do like the stories themselves as well. I do actually like the characters I've created. I do like the story I told, and I try and not be predictable in my plots, but also it's a fine line between, again, what will sell and what people actually want to read. So
I think as a reader, though, when the author likes their characters on.
Yes.
And I think, that is one of the marketing tools, certainly of a series, for sure. But yeah, I'm proud, and this is almost saying this on your behalf, because what you achieved is I think breathtaking. Certainly a publisher taking it on instantly, that's massive for me, because it hasn't happened to me. So, and then, you're going on to the next, they're investing in you, and then going on to not only that, but the payoff for them has been worth it. That's massively to be proud of. I'm proud that, because when I wrote my book, I wanted it to be written in a way that it appealed to people who I didn't think were being served by the wellness book industry.
Yeah.
And I'm proud that people have come and told me that it does.
Yeah, and it's helped them.
Yeah, and that was the goal. It was never, obviously, it'd be nice to make a lot of money, but it was never to do that. It was to help people. And even your books, even though they're not wellness books, I think they will help people. They give them the comfort, that warm bath, to sit and just read the book in a comfortable place. It's a wonderful feeling.
Well, I think give them the same feeling that I had when I was reading my Walls, Virginia Andrews, Catherine Coxon's, and my All Across the Five books. If I can give that to somebody else, and that's amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. Do you think you would have written books whether you'd have got a publishing deal or not? Do you think you would have carried on doing that?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I think even though like I became a qualified teacher and went through, I taught secondary, and then I actually moved to primary. So I taught all the different key stages. Even though I didn't even consider being an author while all that was going on, I think because I've always been sort of led by words and language. I think everything I've done kind of led up to that. Even though I wasn't consciously planning on doing that. So I think I would have definitely done. Plus as well, you said about the pandemic and having time on your hands, and think I can't just not do stuff with book. I just can't not. Like, if I'm got an hour, I think, oh, well, I'll spend an hour reading, or, you know, I do like movies as well, but it's storytelling, isn't it? It's like, so I think I definitely would have done anyway, because I learned so much from all like my training and listening to my podcasts and talking to other authors. I would have just tried to get better at self-publishing, which I know which would have been better at the marketing side of things. So I would have just, I think you've got to learn, I mean, saying about like career pivots, I think you've got to learn how to like pivot in whatever job you're doing. So if the books hadn't been selling as a self-published author, I would have thought, right, well, what can I do? Well, I'll like take some more courses. I'll do something. I'll learn something different. I'll just try and do something to help it. Like going back to when like I'd analyse books to help teach the children, like what they're about. I kind of do that for myself, like try to deconstruct what's not working so that I can then learn what could work. So it's just having a bit of like an analytical like mindset, I suppose, trying to figure out, well, what can I do to make things better? But I think I would definitely, it's kind of like you finish one book and you're like, well, what shall I do now? And it will write another book. And it's just, that's just kind of like natural to me.
See, when I wrote my book, I have a junk pile. I've called it the junk pile. So anything that I think doesn't work anymore, I put it in the junk pile because it might come up in future. I would imagine you do something similar.
Yeah, I felt like anything, like, especially when I'm editing, if I'm sort of going through my sort of second or third drafts, and I know that something's not serving a story, but I really like how I've written it, or I really like a character or whatever, I'll just take them out and put them in my graveyard and maybe try and keep them for a different story. Or not often I will take the exact thing, but I do often want to, you know, try and use them. I can. Nothing's wasted. Even if it's just the idea, you might not use the actual words, but the idea might not be wasted.
What does your day look like as an author? A friend of mine, you also do the editing. What? Because some authors get up at like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh,
yeah, me.
I'm real like sleeping. No, I tend to do client work in the mornings because I think that's when and in a way it's kind of like I'm prioritizing them because like I want to give them sort of my freshest brain, if you like. They're paying me for service, so I will sort of prioritize them. And then I don't really have a set structure. I'll kind of work on it, but it's in the afternoon or even in the evening. Like if we've got like a TV on, or if I'm just like sort of by myself, I'll often have my laptop out and just be tapping away. I'll wake up a lot in the middle of the night with like ideas, and I'll be like writing on my notes app. And then the next morning I'll be like, oh, what? Because without my glass in the cat, I should see my notes app. But I just like hope for the best. And like, oh, what was that again? So like I find I have the most ideas when my mind's actually at rest. So when I talk like we unfortunately lost our dog recently, but when I used to walk him, and I'd listen to podcasts to learn stuff, but recently I'd walk him without listening to anything and just let my brain wander. And then ideas would come then. And I found that really, you can't force something, it's just the at rest. And anything can spark an idea. So you just kind of let your imagination wander. And I go back into the whole, you know, zone when I was a child where I was just absorbed in the story. But this time I'm the one like making the story, I'm creating it, you know, or we'll be driving here and I'm thinking about a story and, you know, just make notes in my notes app, and I buy loads of notebooks that use them. I just use my notes app.
That's it. Yeah, that is exactly how I wrote my book. You know, especially, I mean, part of my book is about finding meditational spaces that are non-traditional. You don't have to sit in a field, you know, with your legs crossed with Buddhist music going on and a kafta. You know, literally walking your dog listening to AC/DC, or I'm like you. I much prefer to not listen to music or anything while I'm walking the dog because I like to smell the smells and hear the birds and be involved with what Reg, my dog's doing as well, because that did spark so much. And you type it in, and then my rules were, if I typed it into my phone that day, the next available space of time that I have to write it up, because you can flesh it out then, but it disappears otherwise. But yeah, I mean, I know I'm not a wordy person. I'm not any of that. But I love your from very young, you've had that trail of breadcrumbs that always about words, isn't it? And that transition to even from the newspaper editorial stuff into editorial work that you do now. How's that? Is it like peeping behind the curtain, or is it? Do you? There must be a difficulty in not shaping other people's work.
Yeah, it is hard. I mean, I don't do like consultation service or anything like that, because I think it is. I do get notes from my editor at Bloodhound, but they're not like dominating in any way. It's very much like line editing, so it's kind of finessing. They don't kind of change like the crux of the story. So I think, like, I wouldn't want to like change the crux of someone's story. Like, I think like let people have their imagination and let it be like fully theirs.
Well, even editing a paragraph, you shape it a little bit. I mean, the great thing when I used my editor was I couldn't tell what she touched.
Well, that's what they're saying. It's being an editor is kind of like being invisible, because you can correct something. You can take maybe like a rote comma out, or you can, let's change this to active voice rather than passive voice, for example. You know, there's things you can do to like make the reader experience smoother. There's things you can do to like correct grammar, although I know there are grammar rules, but sometimes you can break them. You know, it's nothing's like
it's your book.
It's your book, exactly. I mean, publishers are house style, so you have to conform to certain things. But if you're an indie author, for example, you can't have like loads of spellings all over the place, but you've got to sort of write for like rhythm and cadence as well as like grammatical correction. So yeah, it's I think this is maybe from teaching, where like I had to mark children's work, so you have to kind of like assess it and grade it and say what's right and wrong, you know. So very much like, this is great, this is great, this could be better, but this is also great. So I always try and focus on the positives anyway. I would never say, well, this is, you know, messy, this is clunky, you know. I would just
red pen.
Yeah, I would never do that. Especially like, I know how I would feel as an author getting that back.
Yeah,
like,
but I need that.
Oh,
just what my editor, I would send it to my editor, it'd come back beautiful, and then I'd just ram-raid it, you know. Just when happy with it.
Well, this is a danger, because once you've edited, I always say like now it needs like the final proofread before it goes to publication. So proofreading is literally just like crossing the I's and dotting the T's. It's not sort of changing anything else. It's just making sure that it's like you haven't got a full stop missing or something. But a lot of authors take that as a sign to let's go through and do another edit. And you're like, no, because it's like you don't know what like inconsistency is going to creep in. You don't know what like mistakes are going to creep in. And so it was, from an editorial standpoint, good to go, apart from just literally final check it. So yeah, it's hard. I was able to be prescriptive, but they know from me as a service when they get it back, that's of a publishing standard. Because I do like adhere to like the industry guidelines. So if they take it from men, then it's kind of like nothing to do with it.
So another thing that I found with the editing process, it's quite a scary thing the first time you send it off to somebody else, because you feel like it's been marked like at school.
Yeah, a little bit.
That is, I was really wary of that when I first did. But then one of the other things my wife and I did numerous times, and somebody advised me of this, and it was the best advice I was ever given, is read the damn thing out loud.
Oh, yeah. Or even, I often do it with the read aloud function in Word, right. Which I find is good. And that, again, that you can really hear the rhythm of the words there. And because that's often a strange accent, you can really, you're not reading it in your own voice as well.
You've got to concentrate.
Yeah, so you're not reading how you would like perform it, if you like. You've got to actually, so yeah, I always find that as a good thing. But as an editor, no, it's not marking work. It's just getting it to a publishable standard. And you are creating a product to sell. You are creating a product that you want audiences to invest in. So it has to be of a good quality, and that's all the editor wants to help you with. And they may have suggestions, but as an author, it's your right to accept or completely ignore those suggestions. But if you're sending it to a professional, then you would hope that you would heed their advice. But it is only ever they will work on the manuscript technically, but any sort of extra suggestions would be just advice. This might help work better, for example, but that's up to you to accept it or not.
I have to say, I think you can do pretty much everything else yourself, but I don't think you should edit it yourself.
No, it's a challenge because as well that people say you're too close to it. So sometimes you sort of read what you want to read, or you might think you've been very clear in what you've explained, but somebody else might misinterpret that or take on their own meaning. And so you have to be aware of somebody else's viewpoint, and sometimes more so in non-fiction. Fiction, you can be a bit, because characters behave certain ways, and you can sort of excuse things because that's what the character has said or done. But if it's kind of your book and it's more non-fiction and you're trying to help people, you want to be as clear as possible.
Do you get to the point where you've written a paragraph or even a page and you read it, you think, is that translated from Spanish? Because it makes absolutely no sense, even now, because of what your skills, because I certainly used to do it.
Oh, God, all the time. I've said to Lachlan loads of times, God, and I'll be working on it and I'll fall myself and I'll be like, no, I can't do this anymore. I'll just laptop. And then the next day I'll come back to it and I'll be a bit of a better headspace. I'll read it. I'm like, oh, is that like that? And it's so you just completely, it depends on the day if you think it's any good or not. And you just have to hope that when it's finished and you've done it to the best of your advantage, that it'll be either good enough to self-publish, good enough to send up to a publisher, good enough to get an agent, any of the things that you want for your career, you just hope that it is. And if it's not, then you just write another one and hope that it is. I think you just have to, it's just a resilience today. You have to just keep, if that's what you want, you have to just keep trying.
But you and I were talking before we did this as well. And one of the things that we talked about, certainly for me, was having some rules. And my rules, both with the podcast and the books, were, am I enjoying doing them? Does it help somebody? Does it hurt somebody? And as long as the answers to those questions are all correct, obviously, does it hurt somebody has to be no, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But as long as those are all right for me, it doesn't matter how many people see the podcast for me. It doesn't matter how many people read the book. If one person's being helped, nobody's being hurt, and I'm enjoying it, I'll keep doing it.
Yeah.
And I got the feeling from you felt similarly about yours.
Yeah. I can't imagine not doing this forever. I just can't imagine not.
What a gift.
I know, it's to find out your absolute passion. Agatha Christie, Barbara Catlett, or what wrote hundreds of books, amazing. I always said I want 10 by the time I'm 50. So I've got a couple of years to write 4 more. So whether I get another publishing deal, because that's the thing about publishing deals is you don't know if you're going to get another one. I could submit my next book to Bloodhound and they could say, no, thank you. They might have one really similar to it already that they've got in a line-up ready to publish. They might say, well, we've enjoyed working with you. We only ever intended to work with you. Who knows? So then I might decide to go somewhere else. I might decide to self-publish. I just think it is like a passion project. I'm lucky enough that I get paid from it as well, but it is my passion. So yeah, I'd say do something that gets you excited to get out of bed every day, and that is what it is. I do look forward every day to reading and writing.
There's a couple of things I still want to ask you, and then I think it'd be nice to get a few questions from the people of. given up their Sundays to come and say hello to us. But one of the things I'd like to ask you is about who in that journey that we've talked about have you found to be pivotal in the journey? Who do you perhaps have to thank?
My husband, Richard, like, honestly, if, because I do struggle, like, so much with, like, being perceived, like, judgment. I'm very shy. I might be doing a good job of, like, pretending I'm not today, but, like, I am really, this is, like, a big deal. So, and he like kind of quips, it's like, oh, just get on with it. But like, it is a kind of just, well, we're in the car before this, and I know I have to get out the car, come into the library and just get on with it. Like, this is what I want in my life, I want my books to be successful. So I just have to get on with it. So definitely my husband, Richard. But then, like, going back to, like, my dad giving me a dictionary, like, that was such an early memory. And I vividly remember it. And I still got the dictionary. And it's one of those little, the little pocket dictionaries, but it's really thick. And I actually wrote my name along the, like a free fancy sprayed edge kind of thing. Wrote my name on the side. So he kind of, like, recognised something in me from such a young age that I was interested in words and language. And I was, like, inquisitive. So I suppose, like, they've, mum and dad nurtured that when I was younger. So, and I also got off the back of, like, Richard saying got on with it. I do know when I was about to qualify as a teacher, and I was like, oh no, I don't know if I want to do it. I don't know if I'm good enough and all this. And there was a lady at work, Karen, one of the members of the SLT, and she kind of went, just get it done. And it was like, well, yeah, because it'll never not benefit me. So it's kind of like, if I fundamentally know it is going to benefit me, then I do just get on with it. So it's you kind of just got to get in that mindset of, like, just get through it.
Sounds like you've got good people around you to move you forward in that case. So.
Yeah.
The penultimate question I have for you is, if you were speaking to people who wanted to write, I know this is a massive question, but can you give a few short tips on what you found useful, or perhaps what they could do to help them write, and get involved with this kind of work, even the behind the scenes stuff that you also do?
I think people often think that you need to have like the best equipment or the best routine, like the writer routine where you set aside an hour every day and you've got, like, your MacBook and, your fancy candle, or you've got, like, an office to yourself or something. I have an office at home. I write everything on my settee. So, and it's ridiculous, but I've got a lovely desk upstairs. Don't ever sit in it. So when we had our dog, I used to have the dog one side, the cat the other side, laptop in the middle, and it's like it's years old laptop with a cracked cover, and that's what I write everything on. You don't need the fancy things. So even if it's on your notes app, even if it's a pen and paper, it doesn't matter. Just even 200 words a day will add up to a full length novel eventually. One thing I did in the beginning that I found really beneficial was I actually joined a writers group, a local writers group, and this was well before COVID. I actually went online during COVID, so it was still, like, beneficial. But that was useful. I did stop going in the end. I was there for a good few years, but in the end I did stop going because I found that talking about it no longer kind of served me. I felt that the time would be better spent doing. So although writers groups are really supportive and lovely, well, mine was particularly, and if you find one that you really like, don't mistake that for writing, that you've actually got to write. So yeah, you can talk about it or not till you're blue in the face, but unless you actually put pen to paper, fingers to keyboard. You're not actually writing a book. So you've actually got to do it.
It's funny because when there's a few things there that I felt a fraud to join any writers club, so I haven't joined any. And there's loads, but I always felt like, well, I'm not a writer. I'm a person who wrote a book as opposed to a writer. I like to have my space, my office. I like to write in there because I'm away from everything. So what I'm sort of saying here is that it does depend on the person, doesn't it? You've got to do what's right for you.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, a bit of a name drop here, Eddie Izzard was the person who told me what you've just told me, which is you'll never write a book by talking about it, because I asked, how do you write a book? I didn't have a clue. And Eddie Izzard, or Susie, as she saw me one year, she said, write it on a piece of paper, write it on your phone, wherever you are, just write it down. And then I saw her again the next year and she said, what have you been doing? I said, I've been on this course, been on that course. She said, oh, so you've been prevaricating then up here. And that was when I started to write my book, because she said, you'd never write a book if you don't write a book. So
that's it. It's like, there's a joke, isn't there? You always know when I'm writing on a deadline because your kitchen will be like spotless or your gown trimmed or whatever it is that you're doing. But I mean, my house is fairly tidy, but I still prioritise to write it. I wouldn't ever think, I'll do this instead of. It's always kind of like, if I want to get to like 75,000 words by this date, I have to write this many words a day. And if I miss a day, then I've got to make it up. It's like, you've got to treat it as like, you've got to give it like the attention it deserves. And I I think this is back from my teaching days where I chunk everything back, because we were always working you were always planning ahead. So I still work like that, where I plan ahead. So I know that if I want to get something done, or even in my own made up deadlines, or if I want to submit my next book by this point, I have to finish it by this point in order to leave enough time to then, do a second or third revision of it. So I just constantly sort of reverse engineer out. And again, that might be similar to the dissecting a book or deconstructing the books. How can I deconstruct this process to get to the end point? So I just kind of do it like that.
Brilliant. Well, I've got one more question that we ask for the podcast that I ask every guest, and then we'll open it up to some questions for the group. Now, what is your favourite pie and pie filling?
I reckon I'd go. We have we used to live right near Hull Pie.
Never
We were down. Oh God, they were gorgeous. So we used to go there quite a lot. And I reckon if they've got it, I'd probably go. Well, that would be.
I'm interested.
Yeah.
Interested. You see, I interview quite a lot of Americans. It's always sweet pies for them. And I always have to say, I'm sorry.
Think about sweet pie, actually.
And I always say, you got it wrong. And Brits always go straight to savoury. Well, clearly the superior choice.
Well, I mean, like peach pie, maybe, if it was sweet.
Peach pie?
Yeah.
That's a new one.
Love a peach.
Just incidentally, there's a great pub up the road at Humbleby that does 52 different types of pies. Old Pie Balls. Yeah. Of too big if you want to try and twice. But so, thank you very much for that. Do we have any questions from the group here? Yes.
I just wondered what your rationale and thinking was about your name on the books, as opposed to because you called Claire.
Yes, yeah. Because I read somewhere that not having your gender apparent on the front of a book is helpful. So, especially if you're a woman. So I did CL rather than Claire.
Is it especially for the genre as well?
As well, yeah, that was part of it, because a lot of psychological thriller authors do have initials as opposed to names. But I just like CL as well. So yeah.
Can I just say it's International Women's Day and that's a bloody appalling. Probably, I think that's appalling. That we should have to consider that.
Oh yeah, sure, that's true. But it's it is a factor.
Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it? Because I went for the piety man. I didn't want my name on the book because no one knows who I am anyway. So I just worked for the piety man, don't you? True. Any more questions?
Are you hoping that any will be made into a TV or a film series like Harlan Coben?
Only.
Is that next?
Oh, well, I've had audiobooks. If you have been into audiobooks, I would love like translation deals. That'd be amazing. But again, like it's all. This is one thing as a judicially published author that I don't have the control over. My publisher has like the sort of monopoly on all that. So I'm just at their mercy as to whether I get an email one day saying, "Oh, we've acquired this." So, but I refresh my inbox. I check my junk every day as well. You never know.
Well, if we didn't quite touch on it, you might be worth just quite you say now is about you, because we didn't really get to talk about Hola. We did get to talk about the book itself, because I love the split personality, the idea of those behind people. Do you want to mention that quickly, so people know about what they're about?
Well, the latest one, No Good Deed, is actually I had the idea many years ago after watching a documentary about homelessness.
One of my heroes, by the way.
Oh, was it? And it was like it just sparked an idea, and I wrote my first chapter. Vomited a first chapter of this strange character called Genevieve, who the name just sounds like quite a maybe middle class nice lady, and she's really anything but what her name suggests. So she is not a very nice person, and she has a twin sister who runs a homeless charity in Hull and wants the best for the city. She wants to do good work. She wants to raise the profile of the charity. She wants to help as many people as possible. Unbeknownst to her, her sister is kind of doing what she can to not let that happen, or in a very twisted way, perhaps she is, but not the way that her sister wants it to happen. So it's kind of like, weirdly, a lot of my books feature twins, and that wasn't a conscious decision. So I'm not sure where that comes from. I'm not a twin. I don't know any twins, so it's just weird that it happens. Oh, Kappa's a twin.
I mean, your husband could be
twins. Maybe it's just like the whole psychology of twins alike or not alike. How come two people that began in the same womb then end up so different? It's like,
I think there's so many different avenues from that. Well, it's actually quite a nice thing to include.
Yeah. So that obviously something out my brain's latched onto that somewhere, and it's kind of it comes out in your books. It's not anything that I get fascinated and obsessed by. Whatever interest I'm currently into kind of bleeds into the books as well.
Ed Stafford in that series was amazing.
Oh, I know, wasn't he though? Yeah. And he was also a beard.
He's good, yeah. So, right then, thank you ever so much. Claire, thank you for joining me. Thanks everybody for being so kind to us on this first adventure into live podcasts. And thank you everyone to Bridlington North Library, East Riding Yorkshire Council, showing exactly what modern libraries are about, hosting a podcast and having this event on. Signed copies of my book will be available after the recording, and this has been Chewing the Crust live from Bridlington Library. Look after yourselves and look after each other until next time.